And good afternoon. You're listening to Ken Hudnall. This is the Ken Hudnall Show. Coming to you from our studios and right here in exciting El Paso, Texas. Gateway to the Old West and the most haunted city in the country. Well, today is Monday, May 11th. It is the 131st day of this new year. Just 234 days remain to the year's over with, and we'll start a new one. It's American Craft Beer Week, National Nurses Week, and Food Allergy Awareness Week. On this day in 1997, IBM's Deep Blue supercomputer defeated Garry Kasparov in a game of chess. First time a computer ever beat a world champion. And it's also the day in 868 that the world's earliest printed book was produced in China. If they knew what they were getting started. Well, let's see what stories we have in the news today, because there's always something going on. Well, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth suggested Senator Mark Kelly, Democrat of Arizona, have violated his oath with comments he made to a news outlet after a classified briefing. Kelly told Margaret Brennan on Face the Nation that it's shocking how deep we've gone into these magazines when asked if the Pentagon had updated lawmakers on Iran's war impact on U.S. weapons stockpiles. Senator told Brennan the Tomahawks, Army Tactical Missile Systems, RIM-161 Standard Missile 3, Terminal High Altitude Area Defense rounds, and Patriot rounds used to defend the U.S. have been hit hard. Adding it's going to take years to replenish those stockpiles, which could affect a hypothetical U.S. conflict with China. And in response to his comments, Hegseth questioned whether Kelly, a former Navy pilot, may have violated his oath and said the Pentagon's legal counsel would review his comments. A number of high-profile individuals have committed what may well be treason. Barack Obama, for one. Well, AOC is on her horse about the wealthy not paying their fair share, even though she's one of the wealthy herself. If you listen to politicians like Bernie Sanders and New York Democrat AOC, you hear one constant message time and time again. The rich don't pay their fair share, and we don't need any oligarchs. These are fantastic sound bites for the speakers, but also among the most intellectually lazy phrases in modern economics. The question boils down to what is fair? Well, according to data from the Internal Revenue Service and the Tax Foundation, the top 1% of earners already pay roughly 40% or more of all federal income taxes. The top 10%, well, actually, it's closer to 70%. Meanwhile, nearly half of Americans pay little to no federal income tax each year. So when somebody says the wealthy don't pay enough, what they're really saying is it's fair that lots of people pay zero, and they want the rich to pay even more than that share. Well, here's where the conversation really gets detached from reality, I guess you could say. Federal income tax is just a starting line, not the finish line, when we talk about overall taxation. There's a lot of other things that Americans actually pay in taxes. First, of course, is federal income tax. That's the headline number everybody debates. Top earners face marginal rates of up to 37% before you even put in surtaxes. And you got state income taxes in many states. Live in high tax states like California and New York, and you pay another 10 to 14% on top of the federal tax. Suddenly you're pushing toward a combined rate that rivals some European countries. And then if you own a home, you're looking at property taxes. Apparently, you're willing to write a check every year just to keep it. States like New Jersey or Texas, property taxes usually hit $10,000 to $30,000 annually for higher value homes. We're talking 1 to 2% of your home's value beyond some states that have personal property taxes. That's in addition to on your home. And of course, have sales tax. Every time you spend, you're being taxed again. Places like Tennessee or Washington combined sales taxes reach 10%. That's post-income tax money being taxed all over again. That sparks the great debate of a fair tax or having a VAT tax, which some will call a consumption tax. And then you have capital gains taxes. If you invest wisely, you pay for doing that as well. Federal capital gains taxes, like the net investment income tax, can push you up over 23.8% before state taxes take another bite. That's after you tax after-tax money, invest it well, and then pay tax again. Then you've got estate taxes. Build wealth over a lifetime. Government's going to take another bite out of the apple when you pass it on to your heirs. While this doesn't affect a whole lot of people, it can be significant for wealthy families. So basically what it boils down to, wealthy or not, you're still looking at paying a large percentage of what you make to the tax man. Well, the Pennsylvania man's been accused of fatal arson after a woman allegedly rejected his advances. He's accused of setting the house on fire. The police said he became upset when a woman at that residence rejected him. Killed an Army veteran and seriously injured 2 other people. Robert Shane Zimmerman, 40 years old, was arrested after allegedly starting a fire at a home in Lewistown around 11:55 p.m. on Wednesday. That's according to the Lewistown Police Department. When officers arrived at the scene, several residents said the fire was intentionally set and people were trapped inside the house, which was rented out to several subletters. Man suffered significant facial injuries after he jumped off the 2nd floor of the house and had to be flown to a burn trauma center with internal burns to his throat. He informed authorities his girlfriend was still inside the house. Woman also sustained injuries after passing out from smoke inhalation and falling onto a concrete sidewalk below. She was also taken to a trauma center for treatment. Another victim, identified as Brandy Philippe, 44, was found dead inside the house after authorities said she appeared to have attempted to escape, became trapped in the residence, according to the Mifflin County Coroner's Office. Multiple witnesses reported Zimmerman was at the house, professed his love for a woman living in the attic, police said. Fire was later confirmed to be arson by the Pennsylvania State Police Fire Marshal. It's reported Zimmerman became upset when the woman rejected him. He was setting several items on fire on the 1st floor of the house, adding that woman was later taken into custody on a frozen notary warrant issued in February. During the investigation, the witnesses reported seeing Zimmerman admit to starting the fire. They also said they saw him standing in a nearby alley watching the residence burn. Surveillance images appeared to corroborate the witness's statement, according to police. Well, there's a lot of crazy people out there. He's just one of them. Caitlin Clark draws mixed reactions after surprise Morgan Wallen concert walkout after the Fever loss. She surprised folks. She walked out with Morgan Wallen to start his concert at the Lucas Oil Stadium on Saturday. Her actions drew mixed reviews from WNBA fans, considering the Indiana Fever dropping their home season opener. Clark and the Fever are able to defeat the Dallas Wings in 107-104 loss to start the 2026 WNBA season. But Clark, who had 20 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds despite the loss, wasn't going to let an opportunity to walk out with the famous country music star during his signature start of his show go by the wayside. Lucas Oil Stadium crowd roared for Clark, who came into fame with Wallen as they walked through the bowels of the arena. As Barstool Sports posted a clip on X, social media users jumped into the comments to share their feelings about seeing Clark, who had to go back to the locker room during the season debut to get her back adjusted, though she played 31 minutes, according to Wallen. The one X user wrote, "I'm sorry you don't get to go back on defense," and Wings star Paige Buckers drops 20 on you. Plus, you miss a 3 at the end and take an L. Do better. Well, she's become a target for so many people since she came to fame. You have to wonder how much of it is justified and how much of it isn't. A union-funded anti-Spencer Pratt ad has sparked backlash as critics say it could help him. Political advertisement opposing Los Angeles mayoral candidate Spencer Pratt is drawing attention online as critics argued that messaging could ultimately benefit the former reality TV star instead of hurt his campaign. The ad that has circulated widely on X in recent days attacks Pratt over homelessness, policing, and public employee unions while urging voters to reject the Republican candidate. Republican Spencer Pratt's the last thing Los Angeles needs for mayor, according to the speaker in the video. He opposes using taxpayer money to build brand new houses for unhoused neighbors, saying it's time for the homeless to get help or get out. Pratt thinks LA needs thousands more police officers rather than more social workers. And frankly, I'd have to agree with him on that, having spent a little time around LA. Social workers, frankly, in my humble opinion, about as useful as rubber crutches. Los Angeles Ethics Commission filings show the ad was funded by an independent expenditure committee called LA Unions Opposed to Spencer Pratt for Mayor 2026, which was sponsored by the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor, AFL-CIO. The group reported spending $221,000 on digital advertising opposing Spencer Pratt in a Form 496 filing. The tone and framing of the ad quickly sparked reaction online, with some users suggesting the criticisms could resonate with voters frustrated by conditions in LA rather than weaken Spencer Pratt's campaign. Well, we'll see what happens when the election rolls around. Well, The Price is Right is a well-known game show that's been on the air for over 54 years. I remember my grandmother never missed a session. Well, the Price is Right contestants won the biggest single game payout in that show's 54-year history. This contestant set a new daytime record after winning the largest single pricing game prize in the show's history. Vanessa McCaskill, retired Army veteran for Virginia, took home more than $240,150 in cash and prizes during the CBS series, a special Mother's Day episode on Friday. The milestone came after McCaskill successfully navigated the lion's share of newer high-stakes Bet MGM branded game in which contestants could risk their earnings for a chance to significantly larger payouts. Walked away from the lion's share with $227,500 in cash and a trip to Morocco worth $12,650. Her win surpassed the previous single pricing game record of $210,000 was set by former contestant Kristen Freeman in 2016 during a game of cliffhangers. Well, to get that kind of money playing a game on TV, I'd sign up. Well, federal regulations about the wrecked industry that gave people everything, some people. The individual who's telling the story said in 1980 is a Navy veteran sleeping in a 20-year-old car, scraping together $700 to start a hair care company with a stylist named Paul Mitchell. They believe the American dream was still open for business. 46 years later, that same dream is what a federal rule is about to close down for the next generation. Department of Education has proposed an earnings premium metric under the gainful employment rule that will judge career programs by one rigid number. With the vocational graduates 4 years after completion earn more than the typical full-time worker age 25 to 34 in that same state without a college degree. And the programs that fail the test in 2 out of 3 years lose access to federal student aid. According to the department's own data, more than 92% of beauty and barber programs worldwide would fail. It's not a minor regulatory tweak. It's a death sentence for thousands of cosmetology, barber, esthetician, and nail schools across America. Without Title IV funds, most students, many of them single mothers, veterans, and first-generation Americans or working-class kids, simply can't afford the training and education required for state licensure. I remember when I was teaching in a company called International Business College. The cost I considered excessive, but it was paid for with student aid. And with a lot of folks, that was the only way they got the education that they needed. Well, Buc-ee's is set to debut in 6 new states in a major expansion across the U.S. Arizona and Arkansas are set to open their first Buc-ee's locations later on this year. These 6 states are slated to open their first location by the end of the next year, according to 2 states, including 2 states expected to debut sites in the coming months of 2026. The Texas-based gas station chain, known for its oversized travel plazas with clean restrooms and beaver-themed merchandise, is expected to open locations in Arizona and Arkansas later this year. Its inaugural locations for next year also include Wisconsin, Louisiana, Kansas, and North Carolina. While the company's website currently lists 55 locations across 12 states, planned expansion would expand them into a total of 20 states. Well, with so many companies looking at going under because of downturns in the economy, the fact that somebody's expanding is a breath of fresh air. Well, a tsunami of sewage from Mexico barrels toward the U.S. coastline, according to officials. Some of Southern California's best-known beaches are facing repeated closures as sewage continues to contaminate coastal waters. In Colorado, a beach community near San Diego, Coronado, county officials have issued advisories urging visitors to avoid water contact. Warning signs along the shoreline caution that exposure could lead to illnesses as polluted waters enter the Pacific Ocean. Issues largely linked to the Tijuana River, which carries untreated wastewater from Mexico into the U.S. waters. Ocean currents then push the contamination north along the coastline. Officials say the scale of the problem is significant. Much as 30 million gallons of sewage-contaminated water can flow into the Pacific Ocean daily from Tijuana, polluting beaches along the Southern California coast, according to the Wall Street Journal. Even high-end beachfront properties can be affected. Waters from the historic Hotel del Coronado have faced closures due to unsafe conditions, according to the outlet. Sewage pollution from Tijuana River has been linked to respiratory problems and other illnesses in nearby communities. Hydrogen sulfide, a gas commonly associated with sewage, can irritate the eyes, respiratory systems, and higher concentrations may cause more serious health problems, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Well, unfortunately, Mexico is not going to do anything about it. And a lot of the coastal areas in California don't seem to be doing much about it. Well, Mike Vrabel's relationship with Diana Rossini turns the Patriots' Mother's Day post into a trolling frenzy. Mother's Day is a holiday dedicated to honoring and celebrating mothers, motherhood, and the influence of maternal figures in America. And practically all NFL teams salute the day on social media, including the New England Patriots. And that's when things went sideways. The Patriots posted their shout out to Mother's Day at about 10 in the morning Eastern Time. In a few minutes, everybody understood that social media still recalls the head coach Mike Vrabel, who's married to his wife and mother of their 2 kids, allegedly had a questionable, unprofessional relationship with NFL reporter Diana Rossini, who's herself married and a mother of 2. So what ensued was a reaction. It's filled with snark and disgust and vitriol and probably a little bit of truth. And it became a public forum. Felt almost like the Patriots begging for folks to troll them. As one reply made the point, it was if people were trampling over each other to rush to the comment section of the post. They posted AI-generated photos of Rabel and Rossini together on boats and holding babies that looked like the head coach. Posted messages to the team's social media team, advising they perhaps should have skipped the post altogether. Some even asked the NFL to intervene, as if the league would advise the club's social media administrator that, too soon. And none of this should have been a surprise to anybody. People slow down to see deadly crashes on the highway all the time, and they flock to people wrecking their lives on social media. They also flock when an account with 4.4 million followers seems to step on a landmine. And that's where some people ask the obvious question, what were the Patriots supposed to do? Well, that's certainly a fascinating question. Well, President Trump has rejected the latest Iran proposal amid a shadow drone war. The U.S. says Iran's latest peace proposal does not include provisions limiting the nation's nuclear program. The Iranian Foreign Ministry demanded the U.S. release Tehran's frozen assets and end the naval blockade. They demanded, yes. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned on Sunday the conflict's not over until Iran's enriched uranium is removed and its nuclear enrichment sites are fully dismantled. The U.S. report states that recent drone activity over the Gulf states is sourced back to Iran. Officials say Iran is likely seeking to keep oil prices high amid negotiations. So it still continues. Well, Mexican senators accused Sheinbaum of shielding narco politicians after the U.S. cartel indictment. Mexican Senator Lily Tellez accused President Claudia Sheinbaum's government of protecting what she called narco politicians after New York prosecutors unsealed indictments accusing 10 current and former Mexican officials of working with the Sinaloa cartel to protect fentanyl tracking operations. Tellez claimed Sunday that Fox and Friends Weekend that Sheinbaum is refusing to hand over indicted officials to the U.S. because she fears it could lead to the discovery of more alleged corruption. And certainly it could well do that. She's afraid if she extradites to the U.S. these narco politicians, there'll be a Pandora's box that's been opened. Many other narco politicians will fall. This government's not acting, it's not responding to the rule of law, but to the rule of the mafia. Senator called Mexico a mafiocracy or a mafia state, said the recently unsealed indictment out of Southern District of New York was the most important accusations against a sitting Mexican government by the United States. U.S. Attorney for Southern District of New York, Jay Clayton, and Administrator of the Drug Enforcement Administration's Terrence Cole announced on April 29th the unsealing of an indictment charging Sinaloa Governor Ruben Roca Moya and 9 others with drug trafficking and related weapons offenses. Unfortunately, the government of Mexico doesn't seem to think there's anything they ought to do about it. Well, we've been talking about a lot of interesting topics. One of my favorite, of course, is what we used to call UFOs back in the day. It's now UAOs, or UAPs, rather. The UFO, of course, is unidentified flying objects. The UAP means unidentified aerial phenomena. They've long been, these things have long been an enigma, enthralling individuals across the globe for numerous years. Literally every country in the world has had issues with UFOs or UAPs. Pondering their roots, objectives, and authentic essence has incited fiery exchanges and conjectures among researchers, administrative bodies, and scholars and UFO enthusiasts. We're going to delve into the kaleidoscope of perspectives encompassing the potential nature of these perplexing aerial phenomena. We're not going to scrutinize the legitimacy of these assertions. We're just going to talk about what they are. Now, the U.S. government's historically been tight-lipped about UFOs, often dismissing sightings as misidentification of natural phenomena or mankind-made objects. But in recent years, the U.S. Department of Defense has released videos and information on encounters between military pilots and unidentified aerial phenomena. That's a term preferred over UFOs, don't you know? And while the government's not offered definitive explanations for these encounters, they have acknowledged that UAPs warrant further investigation, sparking renewed interest in the topic. For 10 years, I spoke in Roswell, and a lot of odd things were discussed by people who had contact with them. Of course, once I became politically unacceptable to the man who thinks he's Mr. Roswell, I no longer was speaking there. Many scientists and researchers approach UFOs skeptically, often attributing sightings to misidentification of natural phenomena, such as the government's favorite topic causes weather balloons, atmospheric events, or even conventional aircraft. Some scientists also propose psychological explanations, suggesting that a lot of folks interpret ambiguous stimuli as UFOs due to their pre-existing belief or expectations. And while the scientific community generally demands extraordinary evidence for extraordinary claims, some researchers entertain the possibility of extraterrestrial life and are open to considering other explanations for UFO sightings that can't easily be dismissed. Now, UFO enthusiasts and believers offer various explanations for UFO sightings, ranging from extraterrestrial visitors to interdimensional beings. And some believe that UFO represent advanced technology from other civilizations, visiting Earth for multiple reasons, maybe scientific study, resource extraction, or monitoring human activity. Others speculate UFOs may be time-traveling humans from the future, or maybe secret government projects, such as experimental aircraft or surveillance technology. Most UFO conspiracy ideas revolve around the idea that governments or other strong groups hiding the truth about alien life through complicated cover-ups. These notions indicate the most powerful know a lot about these weird flying things and may be able to converse with them. Some conspiracy theorists believe that the government's recovered crashed UFOs, reverse engineered their technology for military and other purposes. Other theories propose that specific UFO sightings are part of PSYOPs, or psychological operations aimed at manipulating public perception or testing new technology. Unfortunately, as of yet, there's no verdict on what UFOs actually are. With perspectives ranging from natural phenomena and misidentification to extraterrestrial life and elaborate conspiracies, the subject of UFO continues to captivate and intrigue people worldwide. Our understanding of UFOs will undoubtedly evolve as new evidence and information comes to light. Remember, you have to approach that matter with an open and critical mind to distinguish reality from fiction and understand some of the weird occurrences. Now, it's logical to ponder the existence of intelligent life beyond the Earth, within the immensity of the cosmos and the vast quantity of galaxies and stars and planets. Just thinking that there are more stars than grains of sand on Earth, and a lot of these stars have planets, we could glimpse the immenseness of the cosmos. We, unfortunately, continue to be somewhat arrogant in believing we're the only world capable of harboring life in the universe. We're going to look at the subject using scientific revelations. Two significant concepts at the heart of this question are the Drake equation and the Fermi paradox. We're going to discuss both of those ideas. The Drake equation is a numerical method in estimating alien life. This was developed by Dr. Frank Drake in 1961. Estimates the number of active communicative alien cultures in the Milky Way galaxy. The formula is quite a long, drawn-out formula. The Drake equation supplies a structure for guessing the number of potentially communicative extraterrestrial civilizations. Nevertheless, it's crucial to recognize that the equation depends on various uncertain or unknown variables. Consequently, the equation is just a starting point for conversations and debates about the probability of extraterrestrial life rather than actually an actual conclusive answer. Now, in the vast expanse of the Milky Way, humanity has often pondered the question, are we alone? Well, such things as the Drake equation, a pioneering formula developed by Dr. Frank Drake in '61, offers a framework to estimate the number of civilizations in our galaxy capable of communicating with us. But what if we actually set out to narrow the scope? How many planets in the Milky Way could harbor the life similar to ours on Earth today? Well, there's a twist on the Drake equation. It's known as a tool for cosmic curiosity. The Drake equation is elegantly simple, but profoundly complex. Multiplies a series of probabilities to estimate the number of communicative civilizations. And for our purposes, we're going to adapt that to calculate the number of Earth-like planets that could potentially support life. Well, if we break it down step by step using the latest scientific data, astronomers estimate the Milky Way forms about 1.5 new stars per year. Observations from NASA's Kepler mission suggest that 80% of the stars host planets. On average, stars with planets of about 0.2 Earth-like planets in their habitable zones, the so-called Goldilocks region where liquid water can exist. Now, when we look at planets where life is developed, this is the most uncertain factor. Optimistically, it's been assumed that 10% of habitable planets develop life. So if you multiply those numbers together, this means that under these assumptions, 0.024 Earth-like planets capable of supporting life form each year in the Milky Way galaxy. But the Milky Way galaxy is actually an ancient collection of stars, about 13.6 billion years old. To estimate the total number of planets today, we multiply the annual rate by the galaxy's age, and you come up with 326.4 million planets that could actually support Earth, life as we know it on Earth. Now, to estimate the number of Earth-like planets in the Milky Way galaxy that can harbor life similar to our planet, there's actually a deeper method we could use, involving a detailed analysis of the Drake equation parameters, incorporating current astronomical data and considering the complexities of stellar populations and planetary habitability. I can't talk. Well, when you do it this way, you come up with a total of 746 million planets that potentially could harbor life. And that's given the assumptions and the current data. This estimate acknowledges the significant uncertainties and complexities involved in such calculations. Now, according to these calculations, there could be from 326 to 746 million Earth-like planets in the Milky Way capable of supporting life. Now, you have to admit that's a staggering number, hinting at a universe brimming with potential life. And this is just an estimate, though. The Drake equation and our adaptation of it relies on assumptions that are constantly being refined. I mean, frankly, how common is life? How long does it persist? These questions, of course, are unanswered, but the equation serves as a beacon guiding our search for answers. Imagine standing under a starry sky, knowing that among those countless points of light there could be millions of worlds like ours. Some might host lush forests, vast oceans, even civilizations gazing back at us, asking the same questions. The Drake equation isn't just a mathematical curiosity. It's It's a reminder of our place in the cosmos. It challenges us to explore and to wonder and to connect with the universe in ways we're only beginning to understand. So the next time you look up at the night sky, remember the stars aren't just distant stars, distant suns. They're potential homes waiting to be discovered. And maybe, just maybe, another world is looking back, dreaming about us. This calculation's I guess you could say, a snapshot of our current understanding, a blend of science and speculation. And as we look deeper into the cosmos, the numbers may change, but the wonder they aspire is going to remain. Well, from the Drake equation, look at the Fermi paradox. Now, the Drake equation contradicts the Fermi paradox, named after scientist Enrico Fermi. And you have to wonder why the Drake equation's predictions of many alien civilizations hadn't been confirmed. Well, a number of fundamentals underpin the Fermi paradox. A lot of stars in the cosmos are billions of years older than our solar system. And some stars do have Earth-like planets, and some may have cultivated intelligent life. And even at the slowest of speeds, these cultures should have had ample time to explore and occupy the galaxy, given the age of the cosmos. And until now, though, we don't have proof of alien life. The Fermi paradox, the apparent contradiction between the high probability of extraterrestrial life and the lack of scientifically backed evidence for it, though the waves of sightings nowadays in the world empirically confirm it, has actually spurred numerous theories. Each explanation has its own set of assumptions and implications. Now, there's a number of prominent hypotheses that have come to light. Number one, the rare earth hypothesis. This theory believes that the conditions necessary for the emergence of intelligent life are extremely rare. Factors like Earth's unique distance from the sun, the stabilizing influence of a large moon, and the presence of plate tectonics are considered crucial for the development of complex life. Then we've got what's known as the Great Filter. This hypothesis proposes that a significant obstacle or a series of obstacles prevent civilizations from reaching a level of technological advancement sufficient for interstellar travel or communication. And this great filter could lie in our past, implying that we've already overcome a rare and challenging hurdle. Alternatively, it could lie in our future, suggesting humanity may face an extraterrestrial threat that prevents us from reaching that level. Then we got the Black Forest hypothesis. This theory, inspired by the German term Schwarzwald, or Black Forest, suggests that the universe is a dangerous place. Advanced civilizations may have learned to avoid detection and remain hidden in order to survive. They may fear the consequences of contact with other civilizations, such as exploitation or destruction. And we've got the zoo hypothesis. This idea proposes that advanced extraterrestrial civilizations are aware of humanity but have chosen not to interact with us. They may be observing from a distance, much like zoo animals, or they may adhere to a non-interference policy with less developed civilizations. Sort of like Star Trek's Prime Directive, don't you know? Then we got the transcendence hypothesis. This hypothesis suggests that advanced civilizations may have evolved beyond their physical limitations, maybe by transitioning to a digital or a spiritual existence. Such civilizations no longer be detectable by our current methods. Then, of course, there's the self-destruction hypothesis. Many civilizations may reach a technological threshold where they develop weapons or technologies capable of self-annihilation before they achieve interstellar travel. This could include nuclear war, environmental collapse, or uncontrollable artificial intelligence, making longevity rare among advanced species. And then there's the simulation hypothesis. This theory suggests our reality may be a simulated environment created by a more advanced civilization. This is the case, the absence of evidence for extraterrestrial life might be a limitation or a design choice by the simulation itself. How about the percolation theory? Civilizations may expand into space unevenly, prioritizing specific regions while leaving others untouched. Intelligent species tend to colonize sparsely rather than spreading uniformly. Vast regions of the galaxy could remain uninhabited or undetected for long periods, creating an illusion of solitude. How about the temporal isolation hypothesis? Civilizations may be separated by vast stretches of time rather than space. Advanced species may rise or fall millions of billions of years apart, making simultaneous coexistence extremely unlikely. Then we got the communication barriers hypothesis. Alien civilizations may use communications methods that we can't yet detect or understand. For example, they might rely on quantum entanglement, exotic particles, or other technologies beyond our current comprehension, rendering their signals invisible to us. It's important to note that these are just a few of the many proposed solutions to the Fermi paradox. Each theory has its own strengths and weaknesses, and the true answer may lie in a combination of factors or in a completely different explanation yet to be conceived. If you estimate the odds of finding alien life as challenging due to the universe's size and unknown elements, but recent advancements in astronomy with the detection of thousands of exoplanets increase the optimum in the search for life beyond Earth. Scientists are continually refining their understanding of the variables in the Drake equation. Exoplanets have improved galaxy-wide planet estimates. Astrobiology has improved our knowledge of life circumstances, enabling us to speculate about life on distant worlds. But despite these advancements, many questions remain unanswered. We still have a limited understanding of how life initially emerged on Earth, whether similar processes could occur on other planets. The development of intelligent life and its ability to communicate or travel through space remains a subject of great uncertainty. Distances between stars and technological restrictions interfere with the quest for alien life. Detecting signs of life on distant planets is a difficult challenge. Even if life exists elsewhere, we may not have the means yet to observe it. However, science and technology are improving our capacity to find alien life. Missions such as NASA's James Webb Space Telescope and the European Space Agency's Plato, that's the Planetary Transits and Oscillations Stars mission, aimed to enlarge our understanding of exoplanets and their ability to support life in any form. Due to the many unknown circumstances and immensity of the cosmos, calculating the chance of discovering alien life is challenging. The Drake equation and the Fermi paradox offer contrasting perspectives on the likelihood of finding intelligent life beyond Earth. The Fermi paradox asks why we haven't found any alien civilizations despite the Drake equation's predictions of many of them being out there. The rare Earth hypothesis, the great filter, the zoo hypothesis, and transcensions hypothesis are fascinating Fermi paradox answers. Our existing knowledge and technology can't confirm or deny these answers. And as we explore the galaxy and learn more about life circumstances, we may actually uncover alien life. The quest for life beyond the Earth is one of science's most intriguing and demanding pursuits. Well, the Old Testament story of Sodom and Gomorrah is awe-inspiring. These cities were probably located in the Gore or Valley of Jordan. God's anger destroyed these towns, and this story has been interpreted in many ways by many people. An interesting theory suggests that the angels who visited these towns might have been aliens. It also proposes that nuclear explosions might have destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Well, the biblical account is interesting to consider. And you need to consider the possibility that advanced alien technology played a part in the incidents portrayed in the story. The book of Genesis tells how two angels came to the city of Sodom, and they warned Lot, a good man, that helped these angels, or many people believe alien agents, before that the wicked towns of Sodom and Gomorrah were going to be destroyed. And they advised Lot and his family to leave the city and not look back, as God intended to raze them to the ground. And as the family ran away, a rain of fire and smoke fell on Sodom and Gomorrah, killing everybody who lived there. Now, the idea that the angels in the story are extraterrestrial entities comes from a belief. Based on the evidence that continues appearing everywhere, this idea holds that advanced civilizations may have visited Earth long ago, affecting human history and culture. These visitors, endowed with extraordinary knowledge and technology, would have been misunderstood, and people in that time might have seen them as divine messengers or angels. Regarding Sodom and Gomorrah, the angels' mission to warn Lot suggests extraterrestrial intervention. Their supernatural powers and foreknowledge of the impending disaster might indicate they were not merely divine agents. Instead, they could have been advanced beings with a deep understanding of Earth's natural processes. The calamitous downfall of Sodom and Gomorrah is portrayed as a torrent of fire and sulfur. The description of the outcomes of the city bears a striking resemblance to the aftermath of a nuclear blast. The extreme heat, blazing infernos, and widespread devastation resulting from such an event align very clearly with the biblical depiction of the city's destruction. The semblance of the description of the obliteration of Sodom and Gomorrah with a modern nuclear explosion makes us think that the explosion of two atomic artifacts really happened at that time. The angels, or secret alien agents, if you would, put these nuclear artifacts in the cities to explode later. So the theorists believe that it was orchestrated by alien beings, as no other human power at that time had this technology that we know of. The lingering effects of radiation at the areas, such as high salt and sulfur concentrations, could support this theory. These have been detected in the Dead Sea region. The instruction the angels had given to Lot and his family not to look back can also be seen as a warning. Be about the blinding light and harmful radiation that a nuclear explosion emits. The notion that extraterrestrial beings visited Earth in ancient times is not a new idea. It suggests they shared the advanced knowledge of many early civilizations. Proponents of this theory say that proof of advanced technology exists in ancient literature. And the ancient alien hypothesis includes references to flying machines and formidable weapons even in the Bible. The destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah and the potential alien origins of the angels might serve as another example. Its obliteration could be evidence of ancient wisdom materializing in the biblical account. When viewed through the lens of extraterrestrial involvement and cutting-edge technology, the story of Sodom and Gomorrah offers an absorbing alternative to our original understanding. As we persist in examining ancient texts and searching for ancient answers to our most profound questions, we should stay receptive to unorthodox interpretations and possibilities. In the end, the narrative of Sodom and Gomorrah, when examined through the lens of alien influence, encourages us to delve more profoundly into our past enigmas and contemplate the part that otherworldly beings might have played in molding our history. Well, from Sodom and Gomorrah, let's go to something I've spent some time reading. The Book of Enoch, an ancient Jewish religious text, dates back to the 2nd century BC. Contains detailed accounts of apocalyptic visions seen by a figure by the name of Enoch, who was taken up to heavens and shown divine secrets about angels and demons and the origins of humanity. Now, the book was initially written in Aramaic, exists today only in various fragmentary versions translated into different languages. And despite not being part of the biblical canon accepted by mainstream Judaism or Christianity, some early Christian sects and modern scholars still regard it as sacred due to its unique insights into the pre-flood history and angelic lore. Its rich depictions of heavenly kingdoms and mysterious beings have long piqued the interest of academics and religious thinkers. We're going to look at the possibility that the fallen heavenly beings depicted in the Enochian manuscript are extraterrestrial travelers. The story of the fallen angelic beings is one of the most fascinating aspects of the work. The Enochian manuscript depicts a gathering of heavenly creatures known as the Watchers. They oppose the Almighty and fall to earth to live among humans, and by fallen, you may understand we're talking about those who've landed here. These celestial beings bestow considerable skills, sciences, and knowledge to society. But unfortunately, their presence increases violence, degradation, and wickedness, which could just be the imperfect rendition of the religious writer. The Watchers mate with human females, giving birth to the Nephilim, hybrid offspring that causes havoc on the earth. And if you go to the book of Enoch, chapter 6, verse 6, through chapter 8, get an interesting tale. There were in all 200 who descended in the days of Jared on the summit of Mount Hermon. And they called it Mount Hermon because they had sworn 7 and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. And these are the names of their leaders: Samlazaz, their leader; Erachobel, Remiel, Kokabel, Tamlel, Lamlel, Daniel, Ezeked. This long list of names is actually the chief of tens, kind of like officers, I guess you could say. And if you go to chapter 7, and all the others together with them took upon themselves wives, and each chose for himself one, and they began to go unto them and to defile them with them, and they taught them charms and enchantments and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. And they became pregnant, and they bore giants whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of men. And when men no longer sustained them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. They began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, consume one another's flesh and drink the blood. And then the earth laid accusations against the lawless ones. And Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them, and bracelets and ornaments and the use of atama, the beautifying of the eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones and all coloring tinctures. There arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication, and they were led astray and became corrupt in all their ways. Simjaza taught enchantments and root cuttings. Amaros, the resolving of enchantments. Barakahal taught astrology, and Kokabel the constellations. Ezekiel the knowledge of the clouds, and Arakiel the signs of the earth. Semshiel the signs of sun, and Sariel the course of the moon. Well, think about what this is saying. Do spiritual angels need to fornicate with women? But if they were aliens who went there different from us, because that's certainly a possibility, because they took the beautiful women of the earthlings and married them. And the giants who were their sons could be in the figurative sense, as they would be born with greater capacity due to their more evolved genes. Returning to conservative thought, we go to investigate the parallels between ancient chronicles and modern-day field encounters. The idea that the Enochian manuscripts, fallen heavenly creatures, maybe aliens, explorers, similarities between the depictions and reports of modern UFO encounters. The Watchers yield advanced knowledge and technology, teaching humanity previous unknown powers. It's thought similar to the belief that extraterrestrials may have visited the Earth in antiquity and left their knowledge to ancient cultures. And furthermore, the Nephilim concept created by the Watchers and human females mating correspond to stories of alien-human fusion and genetic changes. These connections have led some to speculate that the Enochian manuscript may be documenting actual contacts with alien life forms. The ancient cosmonaut theory contends that alien life forms visited the Earth in the past and affected several aspects of human culture. It's made connections with the Enochian manuscript. According to the proponents of this theory, ancient civilizations typically depicted deities and otherworldly beings as celestial travelers, echoing genuine contacts with alien species. The Enochian manuscript's influence on popular culture and ufology is undeniable. The story of the Watchers and the Nephilim has inspired several works of literature, film, and television. We've even got a book out on that. They regularly investigate the idea that ancient books may indicate alien entities' existence. And it's essential to consider other interpretations of the Enochian manuscript and its depictions of fallen heavenly creatures. Some claim this literature is more of a work of mythology and symbolism than a genuine depiction of historical events. Detractors of the extraterrestrial notion point to the lack of solid proof that the fallen heavenly beings were alien travelers. But regardless of their contrasting opinions, it's critical to have an open mind when you approach this issue. The Enochian manuscript provides an enthralling peek into ancient beliefs and ideas, examining the possibility of alien contacts on the astral understanding of the text. The Enochian manuscript and its depiction of fallen fallen heavenly beings provide an intriguing chance to investigate the possible ties between ancient literature and alien reality. Although it's essential to approach the subject with caution and openness, the parallels between the Watchers, the Nephilim, and recent UFO experience offer an intriguing foundation for additional study and debate. And finally, the Enochian manuscript captivates our imaginations, urging us to dive further into the secrets of our history and the possibility of alien visits. Based on historical records, religious texts, and folklore, we've got a number of possible UFO sightings since ancient times, which occurred before planes flying in the sky were regular things. Number one is the Nuremberg celestial phenomena from 1561. Residents of Nuremberg, Germany, reported seeing various objects in the sky, including globes and cylinders and crosses. The event was documented in a local newspaper with a wooden woodcut illustration depicting the strange phenomena. Alexander the Great's flying shields has been an issue in history. That came from 329 BC. It said that due to Alexander the Great's conquest, his army witnessed flying shields that emitted a bright light, causing panic among the soldiers. Then, of course, we got Ezekiel's wheel within a wheel from 593 BC. Biblical book of Ezekiel describes a vision of a wheel within a wheel, accompanied by 4 living creatures, which some interpret as a possible UFO encounter. Then we've got ancient cave dwellings from prehistoric times. Various ancient cave paintings worldwide depict figures and objects that resemble modern descriptions of extraterrestrials and UFOs. Examples are the Tessili, Niger National Park in Algeria, and Seagull Canyon in Utah, U.S. Then we got the Vimanas from ancient India. Ancient Indian texts such as the Mahabharata and the Ramayana describe flying machines called Vimanas that could travel through air and space. Some believe these may have been UFOs or extraterrestrial technology. Well, on that note, we're coming to the end of today's show. We'll be talking more about UFOs and aliens throughout history in tomorrow's show. Until then, this is Ken Hudnall for the Ken Hudnall Show, saying have a truly great evening.